is the Stubborn German Podcast. I am Chris Ron, the proprietor, as Kevin says all the time. Kevin is not here with us once again, as you can tell, because he did not awesomely start the episode. I did a bad job. But I'm here with my friend Jared Chasson.
How's it going?
It's going great. And we are back at Steve Nichols' basement.
I feel like
we just go there every time.
Yeah,
the Nichols Saloon.
Yeah, I was going to say, we need a better name. Oh, there it is on the wall.
You're sitting by it.
We are at the Nichols Saloon yet again, and we are being wowed by his extensive bourbon collection, and we're halfway through all of the bottles.
Yep.
We've tried at least half of the bottles here.
Going to power through.
That's not true. We are also joined by my good friend Adam Stump from Stumpy Spirits yet again. So we have yeah.
I think we talked about quite a bit of bourbon on the last episode.
We did.
A little bit about
and if you haven't heard the last episode, you probably ought to just stop right now and go back to the latest episode.
You won't get any of the inside jokes if you don't listen.
It'll make a lot more sense if you start there.
But we talked a lot about, or some about kind of Stumpy's business, what they're up to, and we're going to dive a little bit more on this episode into just kind of the whiskey industry in general. What are some of the trends that are going on?
Yeah.
What's Adam up to and into? And we'll get into some of that. But first, they really only tune in and subscribe for the German word of the day.
That's correct, Jared. And today, the German word of the day is Drachen.
Drachen, nice and simple.
Drachen.
Well, as usual, we like to be polite on this episode, and
hopefully
let
Adam has a better idea than
go first.
No.
Drachen. Is anything like Docken?
Docken, like it's not.
Steve, what do you think Drachen is? Drachen.
Is that the way I'm going to feel tomorrow morning?
I think it might be. We're all feeling a little Drachen.
The way I'm going to feel tomorrow morning. I'm going to feel Drachen in the morning.
So what? Like fuzzy?
Like
that'd be a good word?
Morning hangover. How about that?
Okay, yes.
Hungover? Fuzzy?
Fuzzy,
okay.
Yeah.
Fuzzy.
Drachen means fuzzy.
Is there an umlaut or a double A?
Nope. Drachen. Drachen.
Getting technical.
Well, it's not that technical. I just spelled it. Adam, what do you think?
Well, I think Krankenwagen means ambulance. I'm going to go...
The Krankenwagen.
Stretcher.
Stretcher.
Okay, right.
Oh, I like it.
You might need a stretcher if you're a little Drachen.
If you're a little fuzzy.
A little too Drachen.
All right, Jared, what do you got?
Okay, Drachen. I'm going to say it is drizzled. Drizzled as in icing.
Okay. Drizzled as in icing.
Yes.
The core of the dachshund.
Yes. The core. See, this is why you got to listen to the last episode.
Yeah, that would help, actually.
The
core of the... Okay.
Vampire.
Tune in to the end of this episode to find out what Drachen means.
Gentlemen, we are off to one of the best starts in Stubborn German podcast history.
Yes. As usual, Chris has a list of topics, and
I sure do.
He shared that with me anyway about 5 minmes before we got here.
Yep.
So I'm fully prepared. What are we talking about here, Chris?
What are we talking about? So I thought it'd be fun since we had Adam here, and we also have Steve with Steve's extensive whiskey collection. He probably has a little insight too on kind of the direction that. Whoops! As I pull everything off of the bar, the direction that whiskey and the bourbon business in general is kind of headed. We'll talk about maybe some trends that we're seeing right now. Maybe some that didn't really pan out that we could think of. I don't know. We can maybe think that way. And peanut butter whiskey. What are you saying? Totally panned out.
You will not find any of that here.
Prices. We can talk a little about that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, so let's start talking. Adam, how is the bourbon business lately?
It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. We see it from two sides, right? So we've got, the put barrels up, bottle it as Old Monroe, sell that. And that business has been great. But then we also do a lot of contract work, bulk distillation, tankers, new make, all that stuff. And
So so everyone knows like how that works. Like the reason that a new distillery popping up would want to do that. Number one, you want to lay down whiskey of your own that you're going to sell under your own brand. But then the contract side of it is you get paid right now to make other people's products, basically.
Exactly.
So that helps pay the bills for the stuff that you're laying down. Helps the cash flow situation, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you only made your bourbon and threw it in barrels, you'd be waiting 5 years before you could ever cash a check.
Right. And I mean, if you think about it from a brand perspective, so I think today to get a Vendome 36-inch column, fermenters, cookers, and just the tanks and the still, basically.
To start your own distillery.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably talking 2-year lead time and probably around $10 million now.
Wow.
Ooh.
So then you tack on the distillery proper, like the real estate,
right,
boiler, chiller, plumbing, packaging, all that stuff. I mean, you're pushing into that probably $150 million range by the time.
And you kind of have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, to do that as a new distillery, and I'm granted a 36-inch column's a monster. That's a big thing.
Sure.
But that that's the size that you see some startup distilleries now, and you got to sell a whole lot of bottles to cover that kind of cost. So a logical step is to have someone else make the booze, buy barrels that are either, new make, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and kind of build this pipeline of product as you start to make and mature your own.
Gotcha.
And there have been a ton of brands that have been successful at that. I mean, Smooth Ambler is a really good example of that, right? Source MGP, start making their own stuff, start to bring that in, and I mean, you could pick a dozen brands that you can name that out of that same source distillery, probably.
Sure.
And you've got other brands that have supplemented it, but with kind of different branding. I think Old Hamer is a really good example there, and like Blom Brothers. I love theirs. So they're up in Galena, Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. They make their own stuff, everything. They also have a sourced project, and it's called Not Our Bourbon, Knotter. Obviously, a play on words for Not Our Bourbon.
Old fangled Not Our Bourbon.
You got it. So it's sourced, it's old
awesome.
aged and all that, but they're very upfront, and it's kind of one of those ways. I mean, if they're a 10-year-old distillery and they want to sell a 20-year-old whiskey, well, there's really only one way that can happen. So there's a need for it in the market. Long story short, and I mean, if you think about it, I don't know how many whiskey brands exist. I don't know, 5,000. I don't know. I have no idea.
A lot.
I mean, there's over 2,000 distilleries at this point, so I don't know. Just call it 5,000 brands. That may even be low. What do you think? Probably 95% of them come from less than a dozen distilleries. So when you think about the impact of sourcing on overall volume, it's absolutely massive. I mean, just huge, because small mom and pop operations like Stumpy's, we're not sourcing, so we're putting our own stuff out there, but we're a tiny fraction of the volume of some of these other guys. I mean,
sure.
What's Heaven Hill putting out? 1,500 a day before their next expansion,
right? Yeah,
which
doubles it again.
Yeah,
I think, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 6 months of work for us. So what they're getting done in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's crazy to think of.
It's crazy to think about, but that's what sourcing is, and not that there's anything wrong with it, obviously, because it's really good whiskey, just getting brought to the market in a different way.
When somebody sources from you, is it always taking your grain, your whiskey, your everything, or do they sometimes say, hey, we just harvested all this grain, will you guys do something with it? Or, you know what I mean? Is there some different degrees of
or are you buying
sourcing?
The grain?
Or is it always just your everything?
Yeah.
Because you guys are grain to glass, right? So
yes to all that.
Yes to all of that.
Okay.
So we're like as flexible as it gets. So our minimum is one batch. That's about 10 barrels. From decent sized production standpoint, that's very low. I think Bardstown Bourbon's minimum is like 300 barrels now or something like that to get in. Yeah, I mean that's a significant investment. I mean, not that 10 barrels isn't, but we do everything. So we've got a brewery client that has got some excess malt that they don't know what to do with. We're going to distill that into malt whiskey for them, put it up.
Nice.
We have got brewery clients with beer that didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, distill that. Same way with wine. We've got clients who grow their own grain, very specific grains, don't own a brand, but they want us to turn that grain into whiskey and then they're going to wholesale that off to other distilleries.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got some people will call us up, and with the whole MGP thing now, which is a whole different discussion, they'll just want MGP recipe. They want a 21% rye bourbon, a 36% rye bourbon, a 95.5 rye whiskey, that kind of stuff, just to supplement their...
Because they're used to having their brand use that mash bill from MGP, but MGP doesn't have that available right now, so get it somewhere else, but it's the same, should, in theory, taste the same or pretty close to it.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, like but the whiskey world is crazy. So we do source barrels from other distilleries for a handful of our packaging clients. We buy from MGP. Just a little over a year ago, you could go get a 4-year barrel for, call it X dollars. Literally today, the price, if you can get a 4-year barrel, you're usually, it's almost like the bottled market. You're usually not buying it direct from MGP. You're having to buy it from a broker who's bought tens of thousands of barrels from MGP.
Oh, really?
You're paying 2 times X now.
Right.
And then if it's Kentucky bourbon, throw a few more $100 a barrel on top of that.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the last we priced something out, if you want to get a 4-year barrel out of Kentucky, the liquid, assuming normal evaporation, right? Not that you get an empty barrel, because
Sure.
we've gotten barrels from MGP for clients, and they've been bone dry.
Wow.
Really?
Rings about falling on, and you still have to pay for those barrels, right?
Wow.
As if it's full.
Exactly.
So it just made your price per ounce, I guess, on that project.
You got it. They say it, quote unquote, averages out. When I think the average over thousands of barrels is different than the average over 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got just this crazy stuff going on in the market with these prices, and now the price of whiskey, not including taxes, not including any packaging materials, not including any packaging labor, not including a distributor cut, not including a retailer cut, but the price of 4-year whiskey out of Kentucky, assuming average loss, is about $40 a bottle.
Really?
Wow.
Just for the liquid.
Wow.
Yeah.
You still have to, still got to buy the bottle, still got to pay to put it in the bottle.
So you're a new brand. How are you going to sell that?
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's the question.
And is that just demand? Is it something happened with supply, or is it all of it? Like
all of that. You've got kind of this crazy thing going on, and I'm being cautious now, and I'm not trying to sound like pessimistic or anything, because we're expanding. Right? We're playing on this as well, obviously, kind of the farmer's motto: make hay while the sun's shining. Right. You got a few things going on. Obviously, you've got growing consumer demand. I mean, bourbon's just through the roof right now, and whiskey in general.
Yep.
You have got, because of that, solid cork
Good
pop.
cork pops,
the cork.
sir. Wow.
Old Monroe wheat.
Yeah, because of that now, you've got this other thing that's going on. You've got more interest in like investment
Generous pour.
in whiskey. I'm going to need a little bit of that too.
A little more of his own medicine there. There you go.
Un poquito, por favor.
Is that the 100 proof? Yes. The wheat whiskey? Nice.
Yeah, it's the wheat bottled
Thank
bond. Old Monroe.
where were you?
Yeah, so because of increasing consumer demand, people think that they should be able to get rich on whiskey, right? Why not?
Right. Well, absolutely.
So you have a lot of money flowing into the whiskey industry by investment funds right now. And I'm talking like big money stuff.
Really?
Flowing in. And into projects that you've heard of, that are kind of everyday names now. But you've got this kind of investment aspect as well. So
I mean, because there's literally investors that are putting money into buying new barrels of whiskey, right? And just playing the waiting game and selling them for twice as much or whatever.
Think of the IJW Wilderness Trail story, right?
Right.
Wilderness Trail had that pot still, I don't know, what is it, 300, 500 gallons, call it a barrel a day, right?
Sure.
Then they put in an 18-inch column, and I don't know, that's probably 6, 8 barrels a day, maybe, is what the 18-inch column is.
Okay.
And that's how big they were. I mean, they started around the same time as us, and like that's a big undertaking to start with.
Sure.
IJW, an investment fund, comes along and says, "Hey, we're going to start this brand, and we are just going to sock whiskey away." Well, what happens? The distillery expands with a 36-inch column, right? And now you're talking they're probably a couple 100,000 barrels a year at this point with that kind of equipment. So,
and that's just from that one IJW contract coming in, and
one investment situation. So,
wow.
There's an interesting dynamic. So you've got distilleries, obviously, who can sell barrels to whoever, brands, whatever. You've got barrel brokers who they'll go in and they'll just buy up lots of whiskey, like lots as in chunks of
lots and lots of whiskey.
Yeah, right, like that. So they may go into MGP and buy 10,000 barrels. They may go to Wilderness and buy 10,000 barrels. They may go to Barton and buy whatever. And then they sit on it and then they sell that to different brands.
And every year they sit on it, it just keeps getting more valuable.
Exactly. And then you've got kind of the investment banking side of it. So you've got hey, you're a dude, you got a bunch of money, and you believe in whiskey, and he's looking over his shoulder.
Someone behind me?
Do I?
And you say,
better than silver and gold.
Right, I'm going to go buy this new make barrel for X, and this should be an asset that appreciates in value, and I'm going to roll the dice and buy it and assume that in 3-4 years from now, I'm going to sell it for more than I bought it for. Granted,
however that happens.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where a lot of it's going right now. I heard a real life example the other day talking to an investment firm for a company. They had a client come in and buy up, what was it? It was like 10,000 barrels. Something. It was a good chunk of whiskey, right? 10,000 barrels.
Yeah.
They bought them on, say, day one. And they were, I don't know, they were kind of middle-aged, call it. They were like 2 to 3 years, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay. When they bought it, it was
because I mean, if you think of the thresholds of whiskey, new make, nobody really wants to buy new make unless you're a brand, you've got a supply chain and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
2 year, you hit the straight mark. You can call it straight bourbon whiskey or whatever.
Now you could do something with it right now if you wanted to.
Yeah, or a little more desirable, but maybe it doesn't taste as good. 4 years, the big.
Now here we are.
Sure. Yeah. So really, that kind of 4 year mark. You're looking at the 0 to 4 year mark as an investment firm. These guys bought 10,000 barrels at, I'm using an arbitrary number here, call it $3,000 a barrel.
Okay.
And in 9 months' time, they sold those barrels for $300 more than what they paid for them. Do that math. 300 times 10,000. Is that
in 9 months? You said
$3 million.
$3 million, I think.
Profit?
Yeah, $3 million.
Yeah, $3 million of profit in 9 months' time.
Holy cow!
There are. I've been told at this point there are banks in Kentucky you can walk into, no collateral, no signature, no nothing. You put 20% down, they will give you 75% loan to value if you're buying barrels of Kentucky bourbon.
Wow.
Wow.
Unsecured bank loans on freaking barrels of bourbon.
That's
like,
crazy. Oh my God.
Why don't you go to the local bank here in Waterloo and ask them for it? Yeah, right?
I know they may do that actually.
So Adam has these extra barrels that I want to buy. Can I?
Been there, done that. No. So those are kind of some of the driving forces behind whiskey right now. But I mean, at the end of the day, all of that craziness is driven by consumer demand. Exactly. Yeah. There are more people drinking more whiskey now. So that's the long and short of it.
And there's still people going in the store wanting this but not finding that and settling for this or whatever. So like there's still more demand than what's until the shelves are full of cases of Blanton's.
Right.
We're
not there.
And I mean, you and I had this discussion several months ago. Once Buffalo Trace talked about their expansion, Buffalo Trace spent $1.6 billion to double their capacity.
Holy cow.
Chris made the perfect analogy. He's just like, okay, so I can buy 1 bottle of Buffalo Trace a week now. If they keep all that in the United States, I can buy 2.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Build a new rick house.
That's awesome.
Every 4 months, I think they
really
fixed a new
fixed
rick
it.
house.
Yeah.
Well, because when you hear that 1.6 billion, you're like, oh, that's great. That won't be a problem anymore. But exactly what you said. Yeah. That would be like what? I probably get a bottle of Blanton's allocated to me once every other month right now. So now once a month. So I get 12 a year instead of 6 a year.
Mm.
Whoa.
Right.
That didn't do anything.
But that also assumes that 100% of the volume stays in the United States, which isn't really the case because not only is the United States' taste for bourbon growing again, but so is the rest of the world.
Markets, India and China and all over.
So
Uganda,
all of
is that
this,
what you said?
What?
Uganda too?
He said you got it.
Oh, I got it. Yeah,
or I bet it's bourbon is.
What do you know about Uganda?
It's huge in Uganda.
Is
right.
it?
Did you say Stumpy's is in India and China now?
I think
Is that what you said?
It's a huge market.
You're international?
You need to get in there.
Sure.
Why not? Let's do this.
Did you ever bring a bottle over there?
It's an untapped market, Chris. I feel like if we just talk to somebody, we're gonna make this happen.
I'm in.
So the kind of the irony is, so the demand is increasing a lot, so the prices are going up. I mean, everything from the cheapest whiskey you can find is now $5 more than it was.
Yeah, Very Old Barton's now like $13.
Right.
What's the world coming to?
Total BS.
But then and the expensive stuff is even more expensive. But let's say Buffalo Trace expands with $1 billion, expansion, and maybe they're putting out more everything, and now you can find a bottle of Buffalo Trace or a bottle of Blanton's or Eagle Rare or whatever. And so is that going to bring the price back down? Is the secondary still going to be crazy because demand is high? We'll see how that all settles out.
Yeah.
Another 4, 5, 6 years.
Would people
right,
till that volume really hits the market.
Right.
Right.
And would people like stockpile that if they could? Or you know what I mean?
But part of why it is so high demand
You
is
wouldn't,
because
but-
you can't find it. But if
Right.
suddenly every week you can see a bottle of Blanton's on the shelf, well, you're not going to pay $200 for that.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see how that all translates to
I can't
the
wait.
consumer. Yeah, right. But personally, I feel like I'm maybe the everyman consumer here. Steve doesn't count because he's got 500 bottles in his bar. And Adam makes the
He's
stuff.
the outlier.
And
yeah.
Chris is a retailer, so
Okay,
I'm just
you
the guy
can play
who
the
buys.
everyman. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll be the everyman.
Okay.
But definitely, everything's more expensive now than it was a year ago, and it's more expensive than that was 2 years ago. Whether it's McKenna, which was 40, is now 50 or 60. If you're
60,
lucky,
yeah.
if you might pay 80 or 90.
And that's another one if you find it.
Yeah, E.H. Taylor, which should be what, a $40-ish bottle, is
Small batch, yeah.
if you can find it, is 80 or 90 bucks
90,
at some
100.
places.
Right.
Same
Yeah,
way with
100
Eagle
bucks.
Rare.
Yeah. So, and it's like, I don't even consider that secondary market. It's like, that's just what you're going to pay at
If you want
your
a bottle,
average
that's
store.
what-
Yeah. So, like, fortunately, and I say this all the time, but like, fortunately, we have a bottle shop like Stubborn German that doesn't do that.
Oh, thank God, yeah.
You're not selling secondary prices, and
Right.
you could, right? Nothing to stop you from doing that, I guess.
I
but
guess. Well, I have to sleep at night, so
right,
there's that.
exactly.
I'm waiting for him to put a case of Blanton's and
Yeah, I
Taylor
know.
in his
We're
bottle
all-
shop too. Yeah,
We're all waiting. But yeah, so it is frustrating, honestly. I'm a fairly new bourbon drinker, just the last 2 or 3 years. But it's frustrating to be like, oh, I know kind of what I can afford, so to speak, or what I think is a worthwhile bottle.
Sure.
And then suddenly it's out of my price range. And it's like, well, now I have to readjust what I think is good or worth it or whatever.
Or come over here.
Or just come to Steve's basement and drink whatever.
That's really frustrating, honestly, from a small scale producer side of things, because like my analogy for that exact scenario is gas prices.
Yeah.
Like,
which just went up a quarter. Did you see
Yeah.
that?
yeah, so like that's exactly right. So
It's the heat wave.
the gas in that gas station's tank, did it go up a quarter at that instant?
Right.
No, like that was cheaper gas, and then something happened, and then they raised the prices. The price of these brands that are putting away hundreds if not thousands of barrels a day has not changed significantly in the period of time since that was bottled, versus now, as far as the liquid production goes.
Sure.
What they're putting up now, absolutely more expensive. The cost of barrels has more than doubled in the last year.
Yeah.
Everything with Ukraine and Russia caused farming inputs to go up.
Yeah,
and grain
wheat
prices
is a
went up.
big,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So as crazy as prices have gotten now, they're going to get even more
Right.
expensive, in my opinion. But I think some of the brands, they may be hedging on, hey, there's high demand now, so we can charge a higher price, right?
Yeah.
Because there's not as much supply, it's just supply-demand curve. But I think they're also hedging for, hey, maybe we're going to spread this price increase out over the next 4 years, as opposed to let's go the next 3 years, and then boom, all of a sudden McKenna goes from $32.99 to $60.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
whatever.
Sure.
So we went on a tour of Stumpy's, the Brownwater Society, a few months back. And and I remember one of the things you said when we were in the Rick House, you were talking about the price of barrels. And I did the math, or maybe you did the math, I don't know. But it basically was like, it added something like $10 to a bottle. Like, I mean, the price of barrels, just the oak barrels alone have gone up so much for every distiller, not small distiller. Everybody is paying more just for the barrels, and they have to pass that cost on to the customer. And so just that alone is causing the price increase, much less everything else, all the other demand of every component of whiskey, so to speak. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, a standard barrel used to go for $185. It's $400 now. I've heard barrels come out of some cooperages as high as like $600.
Holy cow!
Just for a new oak barrel. I've heard of guys, so like the small producers. Like if you don't have a contract with a cooperage already, like you're not going to get in. They're saying 2 years lead time and all that stuff. But I mean, think about it. There's so much big capacity coming online. Like even 2 years down the road, there's still not going to be excess barrel capacity.
Yeah, because in 2 years, Heaven Hill will have their expansion done, and Buffalo Trace will be
and
well
Turkey,
into their
all this stuff. So
they're going to get their barrels.
Yeah. So now what you have going on is there's staves being shipped to Spain. I know in one specific example, being coopered in Spain, and then barrels shipped back to the United States.
Wow.
It's American oak at that point, right? We're going to call it bourbon and all this stuff, and
but just to get it produced, just to get the barrel made, they got to ship it overseas.
Yeah. So now you're a brand new distillery and a small producer, and you're looking at $600 barrels, your only option. If you want to call it bourbon whiskey, right? Yeah, you could call it just American whiskey or whiskey made from a bourbon mash or these really sexy names,
and then put it into a once used barrel or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or even and you can get the flavor profile close. I mean, you could take a used barrel, scrape it, rechar it, and barrel it, and have probably a pretty similar flavor profile.
Yeah.
Still can't call that bourbon.
Still not officially new.
Is that a thing that's ever going to change? Like, is that even talked about, the rules of bourbon? Like, are they going to say, you know what, we're going to let you use a twice used barrel or something like that?
No, people just need to go get to work. They need to go to the sawmills.
There's only so many trees out there, Chris.
No, it's not the trees. It's the labor.
So the cooperage is expanding or not?
Is that the problem? It's not the
labor.
The wood, it's the labor? Okay.
It's the labor, yeah.
Independent Stave just bought some giant 1,000+ acre forest in Kentucky. I mean, the wood's there. It's ready to go. It's manpower.
Yeah, for sure.
In the buildings, too. I mean, we took a tour at Independent Stave, and I mean, just there aren't 100 of those buildings with all that equipment out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of specialized stuff.
And they custom design a lot of their own stuff. Like, it's proprietary to them.
The equipment, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Not like you're going to start a new cooperage. But there's crazy stuff going on in the cooperage world, too. Barrel 53 up in Higbee, Missouri. They were Woodsman Distilling. So they had a distillery and a cooperage.
Good to be them.
Well, they sold their cooperage for $10 million.
What?
To a Kentucky distillery just so they could have barrels. Like, I mean, there's
holy cow,
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Kelvin Cooperage
they just sold
to a, I think it was an investment firm.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Again, another example of investment.
Yep.
Money getting into whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the wood sideline real quick. When I went to build my bar, it's all red oak. And I went out to St. Charles to the hardwood place, and he said, and talking to wood, he goes, you don't want white oak, you want red oak. I go, really? He goes, you can't get white oak.
Yeah.
He said, He said, it's
Adam already bought it all.
He already bought it all up. No, I mean,
Adam did not buy it all.
He said, no, the whole whiskey industry, barrel industry has bought up all the white oak.
It's nice of you to sacrifice the white oak so that the bourbon could sit in it.
Yeah, so I had to build it with red oak.
It's a good red oak looking bar. So, Steve, have you noticed, I mean, you've got so many bottles. You must be noticing the increase in price, right? You've got backups of everything. You can tell you spent more on one than you did last time or whatever.
Yeah,
does it ever deter you from?
I have my spreadsheet here of everything I have, and you notice there is no prices on any of it. So that's strategic for a lot of reasons. But,
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. But so I don't recall what I paid for a barrel. But in general, I've noticed just more and more. Just in general, things are just used to be able to get a nice bottle for $50, and now it's $60, $70 and I think a lot of what Adam is saying for the smaller distilleries that are out there, the cost that they're having to pay for some 4-year aged bourbon already to get into the business, they're charging $70 or something for a bottle of something that I don't know if it's going to be good or not, because it's not an everyday name. So, I see that.
Well, you're still rolling the dice on brands like Black Ridge and
that one I've had a little while.
Southern Rye Whiskey, and Two Tigers, and County Divide. County Divide.
Right? Telling you.
About some red corn. Do you have any red corn, Adam?
Red corn?
Oh. We do, but I have not tried.
Oh, Jimmy Red?
Is that High Wire down there?
Jimmy Red.
Jimmy Red.
Yes, High Wire.
I might want to try that.
Pass that one down to him. That one came highly rated.
Oh, yeah, High Wire.
Yeah. There's two of them I have from them.
I know about this place. I can't talk about it, but I know about it.
Well, I have a question for you to ponder while you pour your Jimmy Red there. So we'll shift gears just a little bit. Like, what kind of trends are you seeing that Adam has his eye on right now? Like, I mean, I'm all sitting here trying to chase the next toasted barrel that so and so puts out. Like, is that what distillers are still thinking about?
I imagine he has his eye on people spending more on whiskey. That's what he's
whatever you're spending more on. That's what I want. Like, what's the next thing?
It's already happening for sure, and we're just kind of getting into it, but it's finishing, in my opinion, and to me that's driven from you get 4-year 21% rye from MGP, and it tastes like 4-year 21% rye from MGP. So now you've got here's an analogy. Now you got the meat. How are we going to turn this into our sausage kind of thing?
Yeah,
that situation. So. I think you have a lot of brands going through this finishing process now with a very similar stock, and that's how they're making it unique and creating creating their own. You see,
sure.
I mean, shoot, MGP just acquired Penelope, Architect and Toasted and all the different variations they went through, and they get bought for, I don't even know what it was, tens of millions of dollars, right? If not, it wasn't 100.
I think it was 100. Was it 110?
It was over 100. Okay, yeah. So, and there you go. There's a brand who never, at least to my knowledge, never distilled a drop of their own.
No,
bought from MGP.
They've always sourced from MGP.
Yeah, and went through this process.
Wait. You're saying a brand, Penelope, right? Sourced from MGP, and MGP bought them?
Ding,
yeah,
ding, ding,
for
ding.
$100 million.
So
ding, ding. That's right.
Interesting.
So
and there's
just
a contract
for the label, basically, right? The brand.
Look, okay.
The finishing.
Where'd
okay.
it go? Oh, so here's MGP's Remus, right? Look how sexy of a bottle that is,
It
right?
is quite.
Yeah, and then you've got this nice thing. So,
That looks-
like, this
that's
is
a
what
good-looking
everyone's
bottle.
chasing.
Right.
No one cares about that.
Sure.
Except Steve, which God bless him, because it is very good stuff. But it's the same liquid. It's made at the same place.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can get the also
High
exact
West,
same liquid
same thing.
Yeah.
as Schnuck's private stock. Current stuff on the shelf is 5-year for less than $20.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that
Less
crazy?
than $20.
We're going to have to talk after the
for
episode.
21% rye.
21% rye, 5 years old was the last 2 batches.
Wow.
Yeah.
What proof?
100 proof, bottled and bond.
100 proof?
Schnucks?
Yeah,
That's a
brand?
find
steal,
that
sir.
deal somewhere else. Find it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Is
exist.
that on the bottom shelf or what?
Yeah.
Schnucks brand.
Schnuck's private stock.
You heard it here, folks.
That's a great deal.
You don't know where it came
E.H. Schnooks? That one?
No.
No.
Schnuck's private stock.
E.H.
Schnucks private
Schnucks. Okay, private stock Schnucks.
Got it.
Not that public.
But think of
Yeah.
what MGP said to the world. Well, I mean, they bought Luxco for whatever, $400 million or something like that, right? Now they're going higher margin. They're bringing in sales and all this stuff because, I mean, let's be honest. Like, yes, Remus and that was successful, but not, I don't think, as successful as they wanted or needed it to be.
As they hoped, yeah.
Yeah, so you bring in Luxco and kind of push this higher margin business now. Well, now we've got this higher margin wing. We're going to get rid of the lower margin contract stuff. But all of that contract whiskey out there, it's almost like an incubator, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got Penelope that's buying all this stuff from them. Now they've got proven sales and a proven business model and all that stuff.
For like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
And-
publicly traded company now. MGP is.
Yeah.
Pull Penelope in there and
Yeah.
boom. Now you've got that chunk of volume that you sold them, that you can repeat,
Yeah.
that you have a sales force for.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see the way a lot of that shakes out.
And like, will they buy Smoke Wagon next? They
Right.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
Will they buy? there's plenty of brands
oh
that
yeah,
I
absolutely.
imagine
exist just because of MGP.
They'll see how it pans out with Penelope,
Yeah.
and then if it works, you'll see them buying a bunch. But
well, I mean, it's a race too because like you see, like Smooth Ambler got bought by who? Pernod maybe.
One of those, yeah.
High West got bought by Constellation. They were like one of the first ones, right? And again, all MGP stuff. So those guys kind of proved out that concept for MGP. MGP just closed that their ethanol plant in Atchison, Kansas, like the original one.
Yeah, to focus on the Indiana. Yeah,
to Ross and Squibb. Exactly.
To Ross and Squibb.
You got it.
You look at the back wall there, and probably the majority of that stuff, half dozen. If you go back the trail, the bloodline, so to speak, and you're probably back to the majority of it falls within a half dozen parent companies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, I have a kind of a controversial question.
Oh,
maybe it's not controversial. I don't know.
Is Jared bringing the heat?
Yes. No.
We'll answer it now.
And I don't mean this to sound critical. If it does, I apologize, Adam.
You're not sorry.
Not hard anyway.
Personally, when I see a brand that I find out is sourced whiskey, I have a lower opinion of that brand. Now you guys make your own, which I love, a local distillery, but you also source for other people, and I'm not knocking you for doing it. I'm kind of knocking them for getting it. But am I just completely off on that? Like, part of me, like, I love the heritage, I love the family aspect of it, I love the history of these companies that do it themselves. And then it's like, well, Chris and I could start a County Divide brand and just
happening.
Source it, and we have our own whiskey and our own bourbon. It's like, is that as cool as Stumpy's? Like,
no, it's not.
It's not.
Well, that is a hard question because for me, like, I try to be pragmatic because like we get to see both sides of it, and it's like, what value does the brand put in the bottle for you, right? Like that is the question. So if you're providing an heirloom grain and we're making your specific recipe to your specific specifications, your taste. Okay, we want the still at this set point, that kind of stuff, and we do that for clients. Like, that's your whiskey. Like,
you're making it the way they want it, not like, the way you want it necessarily.
And I mean, okay. When we contract to still, like, we offer up the keys to the kingdom, basically. Like, you come in and run this place if you want to. So make this your whiskey, and the benefit.
So you're not just necessarily taking Old Monroe and putting a different label on it. Like, it's different.
So to be very clear, I will not sell the Old Monroe recipe to anyone else.
Okay.
Yep. That barrel will never be sold.
Yep.
We will only make other recipes.
Okay.
But we're not like MGP made three really core recipes, and they go into one type of barrel.
Yeah.
And
right.
We're not that regimented. We I think our value as a small contract producer is to be as flexible as possible to give our client the most agility.
So that makes sense. I agree with him now. You're not you. You're wrong.
Right. Well, so
it's still cool to be contracted.
So MGP has, like you said, a limited recipe, a limited barrel selection. If we looked on this wall here, you might find two different brands with the same juice. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there's Bullet right there, which is, I mean, any of the ryes are MGP.
Okay.
And then, yes.
I mean, we're saying it's like really, really similar, if not the same as somebody else.
Right.
So, like, and why is it special then? Or is it special?
Think about how different this is.
They may have refinished it in a second barrel.
As far as I know, as well, on the rye specifically, I think, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think MGP only runs the rye 2 times a year.
Yeah.
Really?
So think of how different that whiskey really is. I mean, yes, it's in different rick houses, and maybe they are going to age some palletized and some bricked, and that's going to have a difference. But
now, if Chris comes along and everybody knows Chris and trusts his opinions on flavor profiles and all that stuff, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to have my County Divide brand, and I'm going to go to Adam, and I'm going to tell him what I want, and here's the mash bill, and this is the toast on the barrel I want, and et cetera, then it is kind of your recipe, so to speak, and people trust you, and so that does have some value to your brand, as opposed to like,
I call
up MGP and say, give me some rye.
Right.
and now you got Chris's rye. Right? So, I mean, there is something to that brand in that case.
Yeah. And as Chris talked about with your tasting last week with Penelope, you said it was MGP. They buy it. They buy the different mash bills.
And they blend them
different
ways.
percentages that they blend, you wind up and get a different product at the end. So even though everybody, so to speak, may get MGP, what you do with it,
they're going to do something
the
to make it
percentages
different.
you blend it with makes it your own. And then if you throw it in another barrel for 3 to 6 months,
because
it's yours.
You really need to do something different, whether it's just come in at a different proof than bullet rye, or you have to do something different. You can't be the exact same thing at the exact same price and just go head to head with Diageo. Like that'd be silly. It'd be silly, Jared. We can't do that to County Divide.
It would be silly.
We went to Fireball or the peanut butter
there you
stuff.
go. County Divide. It's coming.
It's County Divide peanut butter. It's coming next.
Oh my gosh!
So are you thinking about, Adam, 100% corn?
We've got some.
Oh, you got some?
Mm-hmm.
It's coming.
We've got all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
So here, let's talk about what did you bring in the little plastic bottle there, Adam?
Oh, that is a nondescript plastic bottle that I did not bring.
No, of course not.
It was just sitting on the bar here.
Not even sure where it came from.
It's empty now.
Allegedly, theoretically, I guess, hypothetically, it could be a single barrel of Old Monroe, probably a 4-year Old Monroe, finished in a maple syrup barrel.
Maple syrup barrel.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah,
Where do
buddy.
you get maple syrup barrels from?
Google. No,
Google has those, huh?
no. There's a handful of barrel brokers out there that do some.
Place you get your mushrooms.
There's a handful of barrel brokers out there that sell unique. You can call them up and get wine barrels, sherry, sherry finish, port finish, whatever. But they get some unique barrels from time to time. So this is, I guess it's still aging. It's a Skinny Sticks maple syrup barrel. So aged maple syrup. According to the stamp on the front of the barrel, it was a Willet barrel in its prior life. So aged Willet for a number of years, and then ages maple syrup for I have no idea how long.
How long do you? Yeah,
I didn't know they aged maple syrup.
Yeah, I don't know. We got it then, and lo and behold, we popped the bung out of that barrel, and there was some pretty serious maple syrup in the bottom.
Wow!
Could have dumped it up and maybe filled a couple bottles.
Right? Really?
Wow!
We just threw the whiskey in.
Nice, good.
Was it a charred barrel? I guess it would have been.
That's a wet barrel.
Yeah. Now
it was a wet barrel for sure. Wet barrel.
We all tried this, and it is very, very good, and we are looking forward to bottling it. But my comment on it would be, and I hope this is what you're going for, it's not over the top with maple. Like some people are like, I don't want a maple flavored ice cream or whatever. Like maple flavored bourbon, you can taste the maple, you can smell it and feel it, but it's bourbon, it's whiskey with a hint of maple, which I like. I don't like when it's over the top. Yeah. Some of these like sherry aged barrels, it's like I'm literally tasting this wine flavor, and I don't want that. This is subtle with the maple, which I prefer.
It's definitely sweet forward, but the maple is nice. It's not overdone.
It is well done. Good job.
So we've been down here for a little over 2 hours since we ate.
We have,
and I poured some of that in a glass, and Sandy took it up to Karen. Mm-hmm. She followed him back down to see what the bottle was that I was pouring, and I shook this, and she
came downstairs and said, "This is good."
What was that?
Yes. So
there you go.
Stood out.
Kudos.
Nice.
Good deal. That's awesome.
I don't know if you want to get into it. When will that be available?
We've got a few iterations.
I already bought a case.
We've got a few iterations of it coming. First one will probably be this fall. We actually have another one of those barrels that we put blueberry brandy in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so blueberry brandy and a maple syrup barrel, which is like breakfast, basically.
That's what I normally drink out of.
Blueberry brandy, okay. Yeah. Now that would be like, I could imagine that getting overpowering quick, but if you keep it subtle and it still tastes like whiskey and bourbon, then there you go.
I hope it's blueberry pancakes, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Chris is getting creative over here. I don't know what he's doing.
He's digging in a bag.
He's digging in bags. He's pouring out what looks like motor oil.
He picked up a glass and
shot of espresso.
I said, "That's my normal shot glass."
Adam said he did some tasting today on some barrels. Well, I kind of did a little tasting of my own.
Okay.
I brought samples as well.
Wow.
I think we just lost focus. What happened?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Here it is.
Where were we?
It's at the bottom of the bag. Okay.
Beware of little plastic bottles.
Here you go, Jared. I know
Thank
you love
right.
motor oil
Yes.
looking.
Oh, I think I might
Stout.
know what this is.
Is that a sour?
No, not a sour.
No, I know what this is. Tell him, Chris.
Steve. This is the 2023. Every year we do a Stumpy's Barrel Aged Imperial Stout. So it's basically just aged in an old Stumpy's bourbon barrel. It's an Imperial Stout. It's probably about 11% alcohol.
Kind of like the one over here to my right. That barrel's been around.
Yes.
I like that exact barrel. And
So we
It's
take
got your stamp on it, Adam.
we take great locally distilled bourbon from Stumpy's, and we age some
Beer in
heavy beer in it.
the barrels, the empty barrels. Yeah, it infuses
Almost empty.
that goodness in there. So this has been in the barrel for about 2 years. It will be 2 years when we release it
No.
in October. Yeah.
You know what kind
You're
of
an animal.
commitment that is?
That's way longer than most breweries, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is a normal? Come on,
9 months to a year
And look at this
is
guy.
typical.
2 years.
look at this guy.
Go extended.
Twice as good.
There's some breweries that go quite a bit longer, like in the 2 year range. I was like, screw it, let's try that. So.
Yeah, on a 1 to 5 scale, this is a 10.
Oh
very
wow,
good.
1 to 5, it's a 10. So this is unfortunately the at the bottom of the basement steps of the brewery. If you go down there for a party or whatever, it's at the top. Like so right at the bottom of the steps. There's 3 barrels stacked up. It's the top one.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I can't see either end of it to see what the markings. I have no idea what barrel. What if this was rye? If it was bourbon? I have no idea what the spirit was in it.
What was in it?
Yeah. So once we empty it and I take that barrel down, then I'll know, and then I'll try to get more of that.
Yes.
Because
Like an
I think
orphan barrel almost.
came out really good.
It's lost.
It is good.
I mean, it's obviously
Is this-
warm and flat, and
Well,
it's right out of the barrel. So
I was going to say, is this currently like on tap or
no. This is in the barrel.
Okay.
The wooden
You
barrel.
haven't.
Yeah.
All right. We are exclusive here, right?
You're exclusive.
I appreciate it.
You
Chris.
sure are, sir.
That's 11%.
And say what it was again. What is this?
Yeah. It'll be the 2023 version of Stumpy's Barrel Aged Imperial Stout. Is
Imperial
what we
Stout.
call it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
That's
I always
wonderful.
we do all of our barrel picks
good.
that we do. We always take the empty barrel that comes back. We always put beer in it, and some might be like we did a Blanton's version with that one. If they stand out, we'll do its own version. So we did a Blanton's, we did an Elijah Craig, we did a Yellowstone. But each year, I always make sure to do a Stumpy's version, just to kind of keep that
Adam,
going. So
come
we've
on.
done that every year.
He's got a Blanton's. He's got an Elijah Craig. He's got a Stumpy.
Oh, this one is better than the Blanton's,
Right?
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you got to feel a little puff your chest out a little bit.
Chris is just trying to
No.
play to my tater
He's
hating
just
game.
trying
here.
to get a couple extra bottles. No, this is good.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it'll be.
I'd call it
Good.
horse
It's
and
like-
jockey.
It's got a little
good.
chocolatey kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
It's the chocolate on it is
I mean, which is
crazy.
partly from the recipe,
Right.
but also it's taken some of that from the barrel too. I think
It's partly good beer.
I would say
it's partly good beer,
vast majority
partly good
beer.
whiskey.
Partly good
and-
whiskey.
Mostly just good whiskey.
Was there any whiskey in the barrel when you put it in?
No, Adam's pretty stingy. He usually
Squeezes them.
usually gets every last drop out.
Oh, we shake them.
Oh, yeah.
We shake it till it doesn't drip.
Every once in a while, I'll get lucky and there'll be some little bit of residual there, but maybe like enough to like hold in the cup of your hand and just kind of like splash it in your mouth. But yeah, which is always a treat. So
Nice. It's
and then
good.
I'm like I wonder if this is just water. Did he rinse this out?
When,
That's probably why.
so this will be the 2023. We're running out of
Yeah.
2023, Chris.
Well, it'll be at the end of the year. We always do them
End of
in
the
the
year.
fall at the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oktoberfest?
Black Beer Friday.
Oh,
Black Beer Friday, of course, obviously.
That's really good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Really good.
This will be, and these are the easiest ones because we don't have to blend any coffee or chocolate or any junk with it. It's just put it in a keg and carbonate it, and it's ready to go.
Nice.
Easy peasy.
I have a question for Adam. Has your barrel selection or opinion or preference changed over the years since you've started the distillery? Do you have a choice? I know you
shared with you.
You do have a choice, but
As far as like a new unused barrel goes, so yes, it definitely has. Number one, in 2 parts. Number one, education and just learning and furthering understanding of maturation.
yep.
Number 2, that whole Old Monroe whiskey project we talked about on the last episode is very near and dear to our hearts. So
that's the 1948 recipe or whatever.
Exactly.
Chemical analysis.
Yep. Our very own barrel profile. So that's obviously changed significantly. So you look at most of the bottles on the shelf, if it's coming from a big company, it's generally what's called a quote unquote standard barrel. So that is, imagine they've taken this white oak tree, right? Log, I don't know, call it 20 feet long. They've cut it down into chunks. They've milled it to staves. The staves get kiln dried. They get coopered into a barrel, and out the door it goes.
Yep.
We will now only age whiskey in an air dried stave. So the difference in that process is wood gets
as
processed.
Opposed to like kiln dried or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
Instead of getting processed into the stave and going straight into the kiln and turned into a barrel, it's going to get stacked in stacks and set outside for, we do a minimum of 18 months.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is that you get a lot of different things that happen. And this has all come from Independent Stave and the research that they've done and all this stuff. But basically the tannins rinse out of the wood. So take an oak log, set it outside, it's going to turn black. You have the tannins coming out. That's what that blackness is. So whenever that happens, like that turns into astringency and just different things that you don't want. So let's get rid of that from the get-go. Before we even put whiskey in the wood, let's get rid of that. And then
Seems like a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's novel. And then you also get some really interesting, just like microbiological developments that happen in the wood. So that's a big thing. The other thing, standard char in Kentucky, I don't know what, 3 and 4, depending on where you go. Right, whatever, whichever one. They all have the best char depending on their reason, whatnot. You look at the data from Independent Stave, and a 3 and 4 char are not the most complex and balanced whiskey. Generally, the most complex and balanced whiskey will come from either a 1 or a 2 char.
Okay.
The reason that is because you lay the charcoal's inert, right? I mean, the wood that's been burnt that looks like alligator skin on the stave, it's charcoal. What does charcoal taste like? Nothing. What does it smell like? Nothing, right? It's inert. It's going to smooth the whiskey out as the whiskey goes in and out.
It acts as a filter, right?
You got it, exactly. That's what's going to smooth the whiskey out over time as it sits in the barrel.
Filters out impurities.
Exactly right. The layer behind the char, like perfectly toasted marshmallow, right? That's the wood that got hot, caramelized, crystallized the sugars, but never caught on fire. Right? That's where all the flavor and the aroma's locked. So you put a lighter char on it, it's not going to take as long as the whiskey to get into the flavor layer.
See, I feel like the perception is that a heavier char is where I'm getting all that smoky flavor and whatever, but no, it's the other way around.
Yeah,
huh?
you can run a looser cut whiskey if you're going to put it in a heavier char barrel. Like you can extend your cuts, right?
So you're saying your cuts when you're distilling, like the heads, hearts, tails, you want the hearts, you don't want the heads or the tails to get in your barrel, ideally, right?
Correct.
So if you have a heavier char barrel, you can get away with making a sloppier bourbon, let's say.
If you're willing to age it for enough time.
For a long time to let it go in and out of that big, thick char layer.
Yeah, if you're trying to get it out in 2 years, not going to happen even
Don't
with
do
the
it.
char. Yeah.
Gotcha.
If you're willing to let it go 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 1 and 2 char, if you look at the extraction charts from ISC, that's kind of been the biggest eye-opening thing to us. And it's counterintuitive, which is kind of the interesting thing about it, So yeah, we've
That's
adjusted a lot there. And the other interesting thing, we started barreling at, around 120 proof. That's kind of where we put whiskey into the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Then we kind of slowly backed it down. I mean, I think across the industry and new players that are successful, you see that. You see that in Wilderness Trail and Peerless, and just like these lower barrel entry proofs have kind of become a thing, right?
Yeah.
So we slowly backed it down over time to 110. Well, if you look at the data, there's kind of 2 different areas where there are peaks of wood extractives out of barrels as far as proof entered into the wood goes. Those are at 105 and 120. Oddly enough, we were barreling at what you would think would be about the average, right? At 110, right in the middle. And that's not the case. Like, that's not the peak extractive. So we're like, okay, well, there's data around this. Why would we not do that? So now we barrel at 105 and 120. And the interesting thing that gives you, think about this now, we'll split every batch in half. So we make, I don't know, say we're going to barrel 100 barrels this week. 50 of those barrels will be at 105 proof. 50 of those will be at 120 proof.
Nice.
You blend those together. Yes, you can blend them off, and you've got a small batch product that's going to be consistent and all this. You have a single barrel product now. You can be in the 130s with proof. You can be in the 110s with proof. So there's some really interesting stuff you can do. Yeah.
Well, and you probably get more complexity too that way when you're blending a batch together. When you have two different barrel entry proofs to pull from.
Absolutely,
that's
100%,
cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, those are the biggest things.
Nice.
I like it. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. I have bourbon quickfire questions.
Rapid fire. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Okay. Adam, these are pretty much all for you, but I think some of it would apply to Steve too. So if they apply to Steve, get ready. So these are just...
What's in your glass? What's in your glass?
No, I'm what's empty. In my glass?
Come on, we've skipped this.
Should we refill before we start the rapid fire?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, what do you want to refill with?
I don't know. What's the...
Just close your eyes and pick a bottle.
Jared, to your right, those short little squatty ones.
Yep.
Bring them out of here.
We got single malt.
But say what it is.
I don't know what it is.
It's from Germany.
Eiffel Whiskey Edition 2019.
German whiskey?
Single malt unpeated German whiskey.
Bring it on.
We've got German rye. Eiffel Whiskey 2019. Okay.
Open them up. Pass them around.
Open them up.
I'll try the rye.
Adam's like, what?
He's like,
I've seen those on. Actually, Karen's seen those on the top shelf at a liquor store in Tennessee last year. She goes, "You got to get those." And they were the only two. And I'm like,
"Is this the rye?"
Okay, this is the rye.
Bring it.
Okay.
Now
we can do rapid fire.
All right. Okay. I'm ready for rapid fire.
Ooh, it smells good.
Okay. So the idea is to quickly answer, and if you have like an additional little sentence or two to talk about it, go ahead.
But don't get too wordy, really okay?
Nice. Yeah, not too wordy. I got 10 of these. All right.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to answer any of that.
And you can both do this one. Your favorite bourbon cocktail. Go.
Cocktail.
Old fashioned.
Liz Old Fashioned.
Liz Old Fashioned. There you go.
Got specific.
Good job. Okay.
Hi, Liz.
This is probably more of just an Adam question. Your favorite ingredient to work with. You can be stupid with this too. It doesn't.
Pencils.
Not oats.
Not anything but oats.
Anything but oats.
Oats suck.
Wheat, as long as it's not by itself.
Interesting.
100% wheat is no bueno, but
it sucks.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. You could both do this. Your favorite barrel you've ever sold. So favorite Stumpy's barrel. You've got 20 of
the rye barrel you bought.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, I do the rye.
This rye?
Where's it at?
He
put it away.
The rye that was in the
Norton finish
wine barrel?
Yeah,
that's a good
nice.
Rye,
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Same recipe.
Yeah, right.
Same recipe, just barrel finish. That's awesome.
Yeah, barrel finished.
So that's a pretty popular recipe there. Okay.
Noted.
Okay, you can both do this one. What do you think the best distillery is not in Kentucky?
Oh,
you can't say Stumpy's.
Yeah, and you can't say Stumpy's, obviously.
I've not toured any that
Peanut Gallery
in
needs
Kentucky.
to settle down over here. We said bourbon distillery, sir.
The best bourbon
No,
distillery?
I'm kidding. No. Just best distillery.
Best distillery not in Kentucky.
What wows you the most?
So are you talking like a tour or just their product?
Whatever.
I'd say MGP.
Okay.
I mean, it's like as ironic as that sounds.
That's a big, that covers a lot.
We just got done spending 20 minutes crapping on.
Right.
But I mean, you talk about distillery that wows you, like that's freaking Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Well, you're right.
A lot of people take their stuff and turn it into a good product.
Absolutely. I mean, and not that it's a bad product when it comes out of there.
No, but a lot of people buy their product that's been aged for however many years, and they turn it into a very good product. So
absolutely.
you can't knock that.
No.
Steve, you got a
Are
favorite?
you agreeing? Is that your pick?
Yeah, I guess so.
Outside of Kentucky.
Fair enough.
Consensus.
Yeah.
Okay. Your favorite craft distillery besides you? Craft distillery.
I don't have it. Sandy's.
We've had fun with that.
Aw.
His craft distillery.
We might have to edit that out.
It's legal in Missouri.
You don't know where that is?
Good
It's
thing he
over
lives
in
in
Indiana.
Missouri.
It's Sandy's Distillery in
Sandy's.
Indiana. Yeah.
Okay, your favorite craft distillery that's not Stumpy's.
Yes.
Craft.
What's craft?
Where are you?
I don't know. What, you know what craft is. Like not the big 6.
Yeah.
I would say Wilderness Trail, but I feel like they're on that border.
They're kind of
you know
the
what I
big
mean?
one.
Like,
They're barely not craft. Yeah.
like
I'm with you.
They're kind of big, I feel like now.
Pick something small.
Where did Chris do his judging?
And I do limestone, but they've been bought up, so they're not by themselves.
I really like Leopold, and it's more for like means and methods.
Gotcha.
You like
Interesting.
They care a lot.
Yeah.
Leopold.
And they are
Okay.
very methodical about what they do based on research and what they think is the right way.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
All right. It's a good answer.
Good answer. That's cool.
Yeah. It's back there somewhere. I'm
Love
not
it.
sure where.
Right back
Survey
there.
Oh, you
says
spotted it. Okay, good. All right, good.
it's like it's right here.
That's what jogged your memory, huh? Okay. What's your favorite big distillery?
Heaven Hill.
Okay.
Heaven Hill. That was
I
quick.
knew
You
that
know,
was coming.
he didn't even finish the question before he said Heaven Hill.
And maybe
You're welcome, Bill
So
Kobler.
this next one.
Wait, we didn't ask Steve. What's Steve's favorite big
What's your favorite big
distillery?
distillery, Steve? I'm sorry.
Is Yellowstone limestone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that considered? I realize they're under Luxor,
We'll call
under
it-
Bardstown.
they're
big
and
enough.
Everything else,
We'll-
but yeah, I
we'll
like their
accept that.
products.
Okay.
Which also we could just call it Heaven Hill.
See, there you go down the family tree again.
But fair enough. Okay.
Nobody said Buffalo Trace.
That's all right.
Nobody
Trace?
said Buffalo.
Yeah,
Trace.
that's true.
Tater
And
bait.
maybe this is Leopold as well for you, Adam. But most inspiring distillery. Somebody doing something that you're just like, that's awesome. I need to do more like this or whatever.
Yeah, it would either be Leopold or Wilderness Trail.
Okay. Cool.
Just because, like, listen to anything that Pat Heist talk about.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And, like, it's all based on data and science, and
Right.
it's unbelievable.
He's not just making this up. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay. I assume Steve might not have it. Or do you have a most inspiring distillery, Steve?
No, but
I get so inspired when I drink.
I feel like it's
I'm liking
probably
the Wilderness Trail
Knob
more and more, and
Creek.
I realize they're young and they've got their 7 and 8 year. I'm assuming they're going to start going for older stuff as they get older.
Yeah.
I assume.
Okay, Adam. Besides your barrel aged spirits, what's your favorite product you make? So you can't pick barrel aged. You're gonna find a way out of this, aren't you? And not contract either. It's got to be a Stumpy's thing.
Gin.
Okay. I just wanted you to say pecan or something.
Yeah.
All right.
Chris, what's
I'm not playing. No. This is me asking you. All right, it's blueberry wheat.
ding 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 ding?
I got one in the fridge.
All right. Got just a couple more. All right. What's the most fun thing about your job?
Drinking, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, you got to
that's easy.
sample the product.
What's the hardest part about your job?
Drinking.
Sampling the product.
Yeah.
Too much drinking.
Keeping the process running day to day.
Yeah, just keeping things moving.
Yeah. Mechanic hands today, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nuts and bolts.
You wake up and you literally don't know what you're going to be doing by the
Yeah,
end of the day.
exactly.
Yeah, I get you. I'm same here. All right, last one. What is your favorite hangover remedy? You can both do this one.
Ooh,
Jared, you should do this one too.
I mean,
bang.
Bang.
dang.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh yeah, some BCAAs. Shoo. Doesn't spike the blood sugar. I'm telling you.
I mean, I'm water, hydrate. That's me.
I know what yours is.
What?
You're not Liquid IV, are you? No.
Liquid IV.
You're like some little pouch.
Yeah, I do liquid IV.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Steve doesn't get hungover.
No, I
He's a
space
pro.
myself.
He's a pro.
Keep hydrating while you're drinking is my.
See, I'm bad about doing it
Yeah.
while I'm drinking, but then I try to make up
If
for it
you
later.
see me up at Chris's, I always got a glass of water, and because I tend
I
to
should do it.
if I have a glass in my hand, I'm constantly
That's the
drinking
secret.
it. So
Every
I have
other
to have something else to be drinking in between it to
glass water, glass water,
glass
beer, water.
Beer,
Yeah.
water,
see,
bourbon,
yeah.
water.
bourbon.
But I can't do that. I enjoy the product too much. Just give me more. Uh-oh, what happened?
We got a Cards home run here on the TV. It's
Solo, they're
That
still
doesn't
down.
happen very often. Tyler O'Neill. Did we
Right.
trade him today? No. I guess we haven't yet.
That's all I got for the bourbon rapid fire round, guys.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So what'd you think about
a
the
good set of
German,
questions.
what did we do, the German rye?
You know what?
Was it thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm
It's
gonna
really good.
I'm gonna say sideways, thumb
Sideways.
sideways. It's not my favorite. It wasn't gross, but like
What about the bourbon?
I like it.
The single
I didn't
malt.
have that. And I'm usually not a single malt guy, so
I gotta try the malt.
I didn't try it.
I like the rye. I think it's good.
There's still some in Adam's glass.
The rye is really rich. Like it's super
is.
rich.
Got a lot
It's
of flavor.
oily and big and thick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not when you drink. You're gonna drink, glass after glass after glass. It's
Yeah.
one of those that you're
Heavy.
gonna sip and
It doesn't
enjoy,
have
yeah.
those like classic flavors of like caramel and vanilla and whatever. It's like very distinct.
What was
It's
the proof
fine.
on it?
The interesting thing,
I'm a
the
classic guy.
recipe is really not that different than 95.5. It's 90-10.
Oh, really?
How different is this than MGP?
MGP?
Rye? Yeah,
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
yeah. This first bullet rye.
It's dark.
Maybe
Well, that's where the
imported.
that body and mouthfeel comes from. That extra little bit of malt.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? It's probably pot distilled and
Oh,
different production technique and all that fun stuff.
Right.
Well,
One of those unique things that you run across in a liquor store. That's like,
Yeah.
and that's
and it looks like kind of a medicine bottle or something. It's
I'm glad I got to try it.
Is
Yeah.
this the Heaven Hill Select bottle?
Oh, it sure looks like the select stock. Yeah. Looks the same.
it's a neat bottle.
I think
Might have
it
been a
is.
few extra of
Heaven Hill
those
Select.
got shipped to Germany.
There's only so many bottles, guys. I could talk about and nerd out on bourbon and whiskey all day, and I
We kinda
appreciate that we have. We've had 2 episodes now where we've really kind of nerded out on whiskey, and
We'll get back to beer and fart jokes. In
I
the
know
next
that
one.
we have a lot of listeners that are into that, and they are loving these episodes. But we will definitely get back to the beer content coming up soon. But what they really care about, Chris,
What do they care about?
is
Jared?
the German word of the day.
German word of the day
I don't even
was
remember what it was.
Draken.
I feel like it
Draken.
could be drunk too.
It
I
could
think-
be drunk. Draken, drunk.
He kind of knew what we were all going to be at the end of the night.
Steve
we
said it means fuzzy.
fuzzy.
Adam says it means a stretcher. Jared says it means drizzled, as in
Drizzled,
icing.
that's in icing. I love how you put the footnote on there.
And it is drizzled, as in no,
I
it's
told
not. It's not. Draken means kite.
Kite, of course. It's so
I
relevant.
don't know how he.
Like
to
go
the
fly,
episode.
go
why
fly
your
a
head
kite.
didn't go there. Yeah, like go fly a
Go
kite.
fly a
Go fly a
Draken.
Draken.
Okay. Well, I'm sure all of our listeners got that one right because it was so easy. We thank you for listening and subscribing and downloading and taking the time to listen to over an hour of content, probably while you're driving or mowing your lawn, because that's the thing we do now. We didn't for like a month and a half mow our lawns.
Now we have to a little bit.
People mow occasionally now.
Sometimes.
I
We've
did that
had a little
today.
bit of rain. Did you
I listened to Liz back to back
See?
while mowing the grass.
See,
today.
Liz. Yes.
There you go.
I did have so many, whenever we take a break, I always get somebody coming, when's the next episode? I don't have anything to listen to when I mow my lawn.
Well, give us some ideas,
Yeah,
and then
right.
we'll do it.
Exactly. So, but
The well is dry, folks.
once again, we appreciate Steve inviting us to his awesome, amazing basement bar.
Thank you very much.
It is
You're
one
welcome.
of a
Thank you,
kind.
Steve. Yeah.
And
You did not make a dent in it. That's the problem.
I know.
Yeah, sorry.
And, I'm going to put this out there. Before the last episode, Chris and Tammy provided dinner to all of us.
Yes.
And it was delicious. We
Excellent.
got a little local cuisine.
Little Casa
And,
Romero.
Yeah, some
Only the
Mexican.
finest.
It was delicious. And we thank Adam for being here and
Yep, thank
so
you.
much inside knowledge of the industry. And if you haven't been on a tour of Stumpy's Distillery, absolutely sign up. $12. It's so worth it.
For sure.
We've all done the tour. It's a good time. I can't wait to go again. I have a buddy of mine who's itching to go. We're going to schedule it soon.
It's the kind of place you can tour a few times.
Oh, yeah.
and you'll
For sure.
pick up more as
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
And the expansion is coming, so that'll be here, before you know it. And the tour will change once again, and we'll all have to do it
Then
again.
we'll get to do it again.
And you might see Chris fishing out on lake number 3.
Yep.
That's
That's happening for sure.
Well, once again, we thank you for listening and downloading and subscribing. We thank our guests for being on. And as usual, we end every episode with Prost. are recording.
Now we are recording. Now you can't cuss, Steve.
Thank you. Drink up.
Did you get another German word of the day?
Yeah, I got another German.
Oh, okay, of course.
I'm
He's
loaded,
prepared.
loaded with German words of the day. Got it right here. It's a good one. Don't know how to pronounce it. But
What else is new?
do you know what you're going to talk about on this one?
I don't know. I was just thinking about whether I should get another pour or not. But no, this is the all Chris all the time episode.
The Chris Show.
Chris show.
Well, I don't really have that much, so feel free to dive in.
I think you should introduce it too.
Can we talk about your maple finished?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Me started?
Yeah, I said I think
know how
you
to
should
start
start
it.
this one. I don't either. Go ahead. This is
hola.